All right, everybody. So this is going to be your one video real quickly on Chapter 6 on Central and South Africa. It's on pages 177 to 199 in your textbook. My goal is to keep it under 10 minutes, so I'm just going to jump right in and start right at the beginning. Okay, so Lesson 1 basically talks about your Bantu speakers. Bantu speakers are basically the language that Africans speak all through the western and southern middle part of Africa. There are 450 different dialects. So if you're a Bantu speaker, it's not like, oh yeah, you know it right off the bat. It's kind of like there's 450 different versions of it. And this is going to create new cultures and trade. And it's just a new language that Africans are going to connect to in order to basically trade, make money, sell things to each other, etc., etc. Basically, what's going to happen is there's going to be a different language that will break off from the Bantu speakers and the migration, and it'll be Swahili. Now, Swahili is basically a language of Arabic and African mixed together. And so this language here will be used in the central western part of Africa. And it's just going to be another dialect of Bantu. And you'll see all the goods that they trade on page 183 in your textbook, where, as you can see, Africa is trading tons of goods and supplies to Asia and to the Middle East. And this, again, map is on page 183 in your book. So that's pretty much lesson 1. Okay, lesson 2. Lesson 2 is mainly about the area known as Zimbabwe. Now, Zimbabwe is probably the greatest city in Africa when it comes to trade. It's the oldest city that we know historically that has been trading, which is quite fascinating because if you think about the Greeks, the Romans, the Phoenicians, all of these people that you've heard of that have all of these great achievements that we've borrowed and used today, a lot of people don't talk about Zimbabwe, and that Zimbabwe was actually trading gold. I do stress the word gold before anybody else in the world was doing it. And they were great because of their location of where they were at. I mean, they're smack right there by the Indian Ocean. It's easy to get to. And they're just in a central location when it comes to trading. And the reason why they will stay around for such a long time is because they are going to be taxing anybody that wants to trade or use gold out of Africa, because they're smack in the middle. They're smack in the middle because the Middle East is obviously to their east and the gold mines are to their west. And so you need to go through Zimbabwe to get the gold. And so this is kind of one way that Zimbabwe will be talked about, and is still a city of trade even to this day. So basically all of lesson 2 is about the city of Zimbabwe. All right, lesson 3, which is the next lesson I'm going to go to, that is a lesson you need to pay the most attention to because that's the one that will be on your test and that we will be connecting to later on in the year. Okay, I don't know why that got cut off, sorry. So that's lesson 3. So lesson 3 is about the Congo. Now, the Congo is on the west coast of Africa. It is basically right below Ghana and Mali, and this is going to be famous for the slave trade, mainly. Now, they are going to start trading with the country known as Portugal in 1400 and 1480 AD. Congo will offer copper, iron, ivory to Portugal. In return, they will receive guns, horses, and manufactured goods. Horses were not used in Africa, but they're going to start to be used in Africa because they're going to be brought over by Portugal. Guns are a huge asset for any African tribe or group because, again, like I said, a lot of these African tribes, these Bantu tribes, have hated each other for thousands of years. And so any type of weaponry that you can introduce to get rid of another rival tribe, hey, this will be awesome. It's the same thing that's going to happen with the Native Americans, which you'll learn next year when we introduce guns to them. It's just going to be another technology that they're going to use to kill each other. Okay? Portuguese will also send Christian missionaries because, again, the Portuguese are Christian and Catholic. So they see this as a way to convert. So the Portuguese are going to be exploring out into the waters, just like Christopher Columbus, and they're going to head to Africa. And when they head to Africa, they're going to bring their missionaries, they're going to bring their customs, they're going to bring their language, they're going to bring everything to Africa, and in exchange, take things from them. Now, there was a king in Africa of the Congo named Alphonse I. He was a king in 1506. He was basically, he admired Portugal. He was in awe of Portugal. And he did everything in his power to make everybody in the Congo like a Portuguese European. He basically made everybody speak and learn Portuguese. He forced everyone to become Catholic, which is weird because here we're in a country where most of the religion is Islam. But he's going to make everyone become Catholic, dress like a European, act like a European. I believe he comes up with the idea of dukes and lords. So basically, he's turning Africa into Europe. He even changes his name. Now, because of this relationship being so close, Portugal wants slaves. They need slaves. Portugal is exploring, they're conquering, and I shouldn't say conquering, they're colonizing other overseas lands, and they need slaves. They need slaves for their sugar fields. And basically, what they were asking Alphonse for, yes, we like your copper, we like your iron, we like your ivory, but we really need people. We need workers. So this is where the slave trade is going to start. This is where Alphonse is going to be, again, they're going to be rounding up rival tribes or other Africans in Congo, and they're going to be sending them to the Portuguese, who will be sailing them out to other lands in the Caribbean, okay, Puerto Rico, Cuba, for example, those areas, and they're going to be basically using them as labor. Now, at first, this was all fine and dandy until Alphonse started noticing that basically the population in the Congo was just dropping because the need for slavery was so big, was so large that they never had enough slaves. So when Alphonse tried to talk to the king of Portugal saying, we can't do this anymore, the king ignored him. Said, sorry, your people are worth too much money. So by 1543, Portugal was enslaving thousands of Africans each year. And this will go on for about 30 years, this idea of slavery, with just the Portuguese. More groups will be involved in this slave trade, such as Americans, such as people from England, because it's just a nice, easy way to get cheap labor without having to pay for it so that other goods can be manufactured. And so this is the lesson 3 that I would definitely remember because this will be on your test Friday.